What's good, everybody? It is the Big Time Sports Podcast. And man, I've been watching a lot of football. And I guess I should introduce myself. If you don't know, I'm Perci Garner, the host. And I'm just excited to get into the show and get it going. You guys know to subscribe. We're over 1,000 subscribers, so thank you. I think the live sports has definitely helped a lot. And we've had some great games. And I'm not going to go over every game, but I will mention Indian Valley beat Steubenville 30-0. It was 30-0 at the halftime. And that's crazy. And, obviously I attended both, not both, the Maple Heights game versus Dover. And I've been at some middle school games, too, this week as Dover faces Indian Valley in 7th and 8th grade. And tonight they're facing the freshman team. The freshman teams are facing off. And, the topic, I guess, the word of this show is toughness. And I'm going to be getting into the Indian Valley program, the football program more specifically. But before we do that, let's do some things. Let's mention New Philly beating Dover 1-0 in soccer, boys soccer. Let me see. Claymont fell, but they did, put up a great performance. Let me think. I know there's some other great things that happened, but I'm just distracted by, Indian Valley and then also Arch Manning. Obviously, I don't want to talk too much about college sports. I want to focus on, the local stuff here. But Ohio State's somewhat local. So, we all saw that game. And, 14-7, not really exciting on either side for offense. That's because both teams, I think, were 1-2 in the country in defense last year. And it was a great defense. But I want to say, guys, I know a lot of people are putting hype around Arch Manning, but let's just see what happens. Let's not just, pile on the kid because he had a bad game. I know people were talking about first overall pick and Heisman and all that, but he wasn't saying it. So let's just see what happens. Interesting. Let's just see what happens. That's kind of all I have to say about that. I don't really have an opinion. He didn't play well, I guess. I'll say that at least. But we all know that. So interesting to see. But I did like Ohio State's quarterback saying his post-game interview right on the field right away, no time to really gather a lot of thoughts. And I thought he did a really good job in the interview, giving credit to his teammates, the defense, and the team as a whole. So it was good. It was good what he said. And it's nowadays we're competing with AI. I'm not sure if you guys saw the clip of Peyton Manning and Eli watching the Ohio State versus Texas game. I think it was a live broadcast, and Arch threw the interception, and Peyton says, "I knew he was adopted." He added another word in there, which made me think it was AI. So let me know your thoughts if you think that was real or not. I don't think it was real, but Peyton has had some mess ups on live TV while he's watching, the games where he's dropped some F-bombs and stuff like that. So I wouldn't put it past him, but I think this time the, AI is, it might be the one to blame. So, but the thing I really want to talk about in today's show is just, man, when I was growing up, Indian Valley was great at baseball, and, they were decent at basketball, but football just wasn't something, they weren't a threat, and, I say that with all respect, but man, the tables have turned. I went and watched 7th and 8th grade, Dover versus Indian Valley, and I see that I just have a feeling that this program, they're going to have some longevity with their success. It seems like they're doing things right. It seems like they're coaching their kids to be tough and know the game of football and the fundamentals. And one of the fundamentals that I noticed, me and my Uncle Grover were watching the game together along with, my Aunt Susie and my cousin and my kids. And my uncle made a comment like, Indian Valley tackles so well. Like at the middle school level, even at the high school level, you just assume, if it's a good athlete, good running back, good quarterback, good receiver, they're going to break at least one tackle. And it just seemed that Indian Valley, and I wasn't at the high school game versus Steubenville, but since they put up, Steubenville, they held them scoreless. I'm assuming they were tackling well in that game as well. But from what I saw from these young kids, and, they're not all huge, even the kids that are maybe considered undersized are just knowing how to tackle and tackling kids bigger than them and wrapping them up. And it's before you don't really notice and you don't really think about, tackling. You just assume people are going to be good at that. But I feel like teams don't practice it as much because numbers have been down and they don't want people getting injured. So they're not hitting and tackling as much in practice. And I think it's hurt the game as a whole. But Indian Valley, I'm going to assume they work on tackling every day in practice because it's pretty amazing how well they tackle. Open field tackles too. I'm not even talking about gang tackles where you got 3-4 players there to wrap the one ball carrier up. I'm talking about 1-on-1 with space, and they still are able to make the tackle on top tier kids. And I would just say it's fun to watch because, I've been watching games for a while. I've been a season ticket holder at Dover for a while, and you watch some other games and you just notice, with the rules at the upper levels, I give them an excuse. But it just seems like a lot of people are bad at tackling. And like I said, it's at the expense of not being able to practice it as much because you're worried about injuries and, rule changes and all that. And we did see a tragedy at Tusky Valley. But it's just tackling has become a lost art. And I want it to become something that people do focus on because it's important, whether it's safety, whether it's, just being a better football player, a better defensive player, and, ultimately just being a better team. Because it does get kind of, it breaks your heart when you see, your team's about to tackle this guy for a loss, and then he breaks 3 tackles and ends up gaining 30 yards, and you're just like, how? We had him back there. And I know there's a lot of talented kids out there that have the moves or the power to shake tackles, but I just feel at the end of the day, tackling it's just become a lost art. And I think Indian Valley is focusing on that. And it's proven that they're able to tackle people, hold people to short gains, and not have a lot of run after catch or yards after catch. And it's definitely helping them. Again, I want to repeat, I know a lot of everybody saw it, but 30-0 Indian Valley over Steubenville. We know Indian Valley's good, but everyone I talked to, it didn't seem like they thought that would be the case. So, good week for Indian Valley. Not a good week for Dover. They lost to Maple Heights. Not a good week for Philly. They lost to Westchester. I always say that wrong. West Branch. But hey, it's early on in the season. These teams aren't who they're going to be at the end. I'm excited to see, both, our schools here in Tuscarawas County to see how they grow. I know there's teams beyond as well. They're going to be getting better and better as the season goes on. But man, I really hope, tackling becomes, a focus for these teams.
Find a rewarding career close to home at Kimball. You'll find outstanding benefits, a supportive team, and opportunities for career growth. Working for a local family company really makes a difference. Apply today.
Aaron Kowalczyk, attorney at law. Family court matters are important to you. You need an attorney that will listen to your concerns and execute a plan that will bring the results that you're looking for. That attorney is Aaron Kowalczyk. For divorce or dissolution or custody, Consult attorney Aaron Kowalczyk. Inquire now at kowalczyklaw.com. That is www.kowalczyklaw.com.
I do want to say, I just feel Indian Valley's program is they're building something special, and kids want to be a part of it, and I just think it's going to keep growing. So I'm excited to see the trajectory of the Indian Valley football program, and yeah, because like I said, I just watched Indian Valley seventh grade, beat Dover pretty easy. The eighth grade, it was a closer game, but for the most part, they handled Dover pretty well. And yeah, we'll have to see what the freshmen do tonight as I'm recording this on Thursday. And then I'll be going to see Dover, their third varsity game. But week one they were able to beat Glen Oak, and then Maple Heights, who had some good talent. Dover just wasn't able to contain some of their skilled players, and but it was an exciting game. It was an exciting game, and I'm glad I was there in attendance. It was senior night. Got to see my nephew and my brother and sister-in-law walk across the field with him. And then, yeah, it's an exciting time. I always love this. The Dover softball team got some props and some standing ovation from for them winning the state championship game in softball, and that was exciting. All the players got announced. That was handled well. I get to see it from a good view of my seat. I was feeding my face, but congratulations again to the Dover softball team for winning state. But yeah, man, at the end of the day, toughness. And that goes for all the topics that I've talked about, whether we're talking about soccer, whether we're talking about, golf, football, no matter what it is, no matter if it's middle school, high school, college, you just got to be tough. I can't remember, I heard someone talking about, Arch Manning and facing Ohio State. And to beat Ohio State, you have to be tough. And it seems like, it's, and I want to say toughness. I don't want to say it's maybe the thing you're thinking about. When I think toughness, I think a multitude of ways you can be tough. You don't have to be the strongest, but if you're willing to stick your nose in there and, not shy away from contact, be able to be mentally tough, fight through adversity, not get down, not yell at your teammates, pick them up when they make a mistake. All those things I think are a part of being tough. And I wouldn't say, playing through injury, that's a definite a form of toughness, but you got to be smart. I would rather, especially young kids, be on the conservative side of, dealing with an injury and not trying to get back in the game. It's just middle school, high school sports. It's definitely more important that everything else is intact for the rest of your life. But toughness, man, it's just, it's exciting when you see a young team that is well coached and they know their responsibilities and they execute those and they expect it out of all their teammates. It's a sight to see. And that's what I love about team sports. I never was an individual sport guy, and that's a whole different animal. But team sports, it's something special because I think, solo sports you can prepare yourself for the future as well, but team sports, learning how to, sometimes put your goals on the back burner if it is better for the team to do that. And that's always a tough decision. Sometimes the coaches make the decision for you. But at the end of the day, toughness is very important. And that's one of the things I think, sports, they're just able to prepare you for life in the professional world and anything you can do after. But yeah, I do want to give Gareway props for coming on the Big Time Sports Show with Charlie. I wish them a good season, Coach Wally. But I always like to see, where teams go, how they start, how they finish. And yeah, man, it's just a good time. Uh, Plan on having Mike Galena on the show here soon. I know you guys love it when he's on. Other than that, I want to kind of do these things where we talk about the games and maybe a little bit different than I did last season. But this season, I want to make sure, we mentioned some games and I picked some games to focus on. It won't always be Dover, I promise. Like it was Indian Valley this time, just because they're playing so well. You know, I would love to see them repeat because I know at the Tuscarawas County preview, Coach Lancaster was talking about not being complacent and not just and being hungry for a new year. I mean, you hear athletes at the top levels who they win a championship and they're just like, okay, now I want another one, and it's just like it could be looked at negatively because you realize you're not going to be happy. But I also think on the positive end, that's just the drive and determination people have. You love the sport, you love the grind and all the preparation that goes in before you actually go compete in a game or your season. Um, I always like the off seasons and preparing for the season. Love games more, obviously, but it was kind of fun sometimes. Getting your body ready, getting your mind ready, doing all the things that you need to do, and sometimes more. Um, Depending. My first season and my first off season as a professional baseball player, the Phillies just told me to chill. You know, it's good. You can condition, but chill out on lifting weights. So that was weird being told to cool it on weightlifting. So um, it's good to have a goal and focus on what your plan is and to attack that. So at the end of the day, I love sports. I love football, and yeah, it's I'm excited to see this season. I got the NFL Sunday ticket. I'm excited to watch some NFL games as well. Um, but if you don't like Ohio State or that's not your number one team, can you please comment down below what your number one college team is? I'm assuming most of you root for your high schools that you are either live in their town or their school district. But for college, that can be a mixed bag. Um, I always joke that, I have a hold a grudge against Ohio State because they didn't give me a scholarship to come play football there or baseball. But it's all fun and games. They're in a high school. I like to see them do well, especially when I know someone who is, on their roster. But I'm always going to cheer for Ball State, you know. Um, but I'd be very interested to hear your favorite teams down in the comments. So, college team, college player, whatever it is, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say my favorite college player right now. I would. It's a mix. So I'll say my defensive player is Caleb Downs at Ohio State, and I'm liking the South Carolina quarterback right now. We'll have to see if he can continue. How he played in the week one all the way out through the season. But go ahead, throw it down in the comments whether you know you want to talk about your favorite player, favorite team. I want to hear about it. So, um, but yeah, all I can think about is that freshman game right now, Dover versus Indian Valley. Can't wait to hear the results. I'll be going to feeding our crap. I always forget this. This is the Tough Bags Gala. I'm going there tonight. I'm going to be guest bartending. Should be fun. There's some competition going on. I don't know much about mocktails and all that stuff, but hopefully we raise a lot of money for Tough Bags. And I want to say it's called Feeding Our Future. There it is, Feeding Our Future. I'll be there. Um, should be fun. Should be fun. But yeah, I'm looking forward to following up this weekend, these games next week on next week's show. Should be exciting. And man, I can't wait to see these comments, but also I just can't wait to see, the teams improve. And hopefully there's a lot of film study going on. Hopefully there's a lot of good preparation, and no one's giving up, no matter how we start the season. So I wish everyone luck. And if you guys want to catch live games, you know where to catch them. Check out our Facebook as well. Give us a follow there, and stay tuned here on the YouTube channel for more shows like this. Also, the Big Time Sports Show, whether that's with Charlie or Mr. Dunn Up North. And we'll catch you in the next episode.